everybody, this is Indira, Assistant Professor of Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Department of Mathematics. Today we are going to discuss the question bank questions of third unit, that is mean value theorem, that's functions of several variables in linear algebra and calculus. Okay, the very first questions, it shows that the very first question of functions of several variables. Before going to the first questions of question bank questions of functions of several variables, let us discuss what are the topics in the functions of several variables. In functions of several variables, we have mean value theorem, Jacobian transformation, maxima and minima of functions of two variables and three variables, and then Lagrange's method of undetermined multipliers. So these are the topics in functions of several variables. And going to the first mean value theorems, we have three mean value theorems, that is Rolle's theorem, Lagrange's theorem, and Cauchy's mean value theorems are there in the first part A of this unit, that is functions of several variables. So let us discuss about the part A questions of question bank. Part A questions of question bank: how Rolle's mean value theorem is applicable for any function f of x in the interval a comma b. Now, to apply the Rolle's mean value theorem for any function, the two conditions that are to be satisfied is that the first condition, that f of x, the function to which we are applying mean value theorem, has to be continuous in the closed interval a comma b, should be continuous in the closed interval a comma b. Secondly, the function should be differentiable in the open interval a comma b. The function should be differentiable in the open interval a comma b. Apart from this, f of a should be equal to f of b. That is, the function should be of same height at two different points a and b. The functional value should be same. If these three conditions are satisfied, then you can say that the function is applicable, is satisfying for applying the Rolle's mean value theorem. Then, according to the Rolle's mean value theorem, there exists a point C belongs to the open interval a comma b such that f dash of C is equal to 0. That is the Rolle's mean value theorem. Going to the second one, how Lagrange's mean value theorem is applicable for any function f of x in the interval a comma b. Now, for just like the Rolle's mean value theorem, Lagrange's mean value theorem is applicable if the given function is continuous in the closed interval a comma b and derivable in the open interval a comma b, and if these two conditions are satisfied, then that b is not equal to a, then f dash of then you can say that there exists a point C belongs to the open interval a comma b such that f dash of C is equal to f of b minus f of a divided by b minus a. If suppose if b is equal to a, then Lagrange's mean value theorem is reduced to Rolle's mean value theorem. So that is the second one. That is how we can show that the functions can be capable of applying the Lagrange's mean value theorem. Going to the Cauchy's mean value theorem. Cauchy's mean value theorem is applicable for two different types of functions. That is, as we have seen in Rolle's and Lagrange's, we have seen only single functions. Here in Cauchy's mean value theorem, you are going to see two different types of functions, f and g. Suppose if f and g are continuous in the closed interval a comma b, and f and g are differentiable in the open interval a comma b, and g of b minus g of a is not equal to 0, then you can see that is g of x is not equal to 0 for all the values between a and b. If all these conditions are satisfied, then the function is capable for applying Cauchy's mean value theorem. Then according to the Cauchy's mean value theorem, it says that f dash of C divided by g dash of C is equal to f of b minus f of a divided by g of b minus g of a. And here, C is a value which belongs to the closed interval, open interval a comma b. So this is the Cauchy's mean value theorem. Explain Rolle's mean value theorem geometrically. Now, in order to explain the Rolle's mean value theorem geometrically, first we have to recapitulate the statement for the Rolle's mean value theorem. It says that f of x is continuous for all x belongs to the closed interval a comma b, and secondly, f of x is differentiable in the open interval a comma b, then and f of b is equal to f of a, then there exists a value c belongs to open interval a comma b such that f dash of c is equal to 0. So that is a statement for the Rolle's mean value theorem. Then according to this Rolle's mean value theorem, the geometrically it can be explained as if y is equal to f of x is any function defined in the closed interval a comma b such that number 1, f of x is continuous for each and every point in between a comma b. That means for every point we should have the finite value of f of x, then it is said to be continuous. Then secondly, that f of x is differentiable. That means f of x is differentiable in the open interval a comma b. That means each and every point the function should be differentiable. Then and also f of b is equal to f of a. That means at a point a and b the functional value should be same. The curve end point should be same at the same point. Then there exists a point on the curve such that tangent at the point is parallel to x-axis. Tangent at the point is parallel to, this is a tangent, and tangent is said to be parallel to the x-axis. That is a geometrical interpretation of the theorems. And the next, illustrate similarly, we here the fifth question he asked that explain Lagrange's mean value theorem geometrically. Just we have discussed about the Rolle's mean value theorem geometrically in the similar manner. The first point that the function should be continuous in the closed interval a comma b. That means if y is equal to f of x should be continuous curve for all the values between a and in between a and b. The first point. Second one, at every point that is there should exist single tangent. That means that f of x is differentiable at all the points in the open interval a comma b. And then the third point is that g dash of x should not be equal to 0. The derivative at any point of the second function, of the function should not be equal to 0. Here we are taking f of x. So we have to the third point, it says that b is not equal to a. That means f of x is not at the same height between a and b. Then there exists a point on the where the chord of the given curve is parallel to the tangent at a point is parallel to the chord of the given curve. The tangent at a point where we are referring is parallel to the tangent of the given curve. That is a geometrical interpretation of the Lagrange's mean value theorem. Once again I am telling, if y is equal to f of x is continuous for each and every point in the closed interval a comma b. At every point there exists a single tangent. Thirdly, the b is not equal to a, then there exists a c on the curve where the tangent is parallel to the chord of the given curve. So this is the chord of the curve. So it should be chord. But for the Rolle's mean value theorem, the tangent is parallel to the x-axis of the x-axis. So that is how we can explain the geometrical interpretation of the Lagrange's mean value theorem also. Next, sixth equation. Illustrate an example of the function that it is continuous on closed interval -1, 1 for which the mean value theorem does not hold. Suppose you take mod of x, or we take an example here, that is mod of x. Then you know that mod of x is always continuous function in between -1 to 1, because between -1 to 1 mod x is always exists. So therefore you can say that it is continuous function. But the mean value theorems does not hold. Why? Because it is not differentiable. Because for mod f of x is equal to mod x, the left hand derivative is not equal to equal to the right hand derivative, is not equal to the right hand derivative. Therefore, this is the best example that mod x is a best example for in between minus 1 to 1 where it is continuous but not differentiable. Next, make use of Lagrange's mean value theorem to find the value of c for the function f of x is equal to log x. Now we have to make use of the Lagrange's mean value theorem. Now what is f of x he has given? Log x. Log x in between 1 to e is always a continuous function. Okay, so the first point is satisfied. Now so going to the second point, f dash of x is equal to 1 by x, and if you substitute any value between 1 to e, where e is 2.713, so we, the value that is f dash of x is always a finite value. So the f of x which is equal to log x is always a differentiable function in between 1 and e. And thirdly, at none of the point this log of x is equal to 0. So you can say that is f of b is not equal to f of a. So therefore, by Lagrange's mean value theorem, there exists c belongs to the open interval such that f dash of c is equal to f of b minus f of a divided by b minus a. If that is the case, f of b is nothing but f here we have here the a is 1 and b is e. So you have, if you substitute here f of 1 minus f of b, f of b is nothing but f of e minus f of 1 by e minus 1, and and you can say that this is equal to log x, that is nothing but 1 by c. So 1 by c is the different derivative of a log x, and when x is replaced by some point, we are going to get it as 1 by c. So f of e is nothing but log e, which is equal to 1, and f of 1, that is 0 by e minus 1 is equal to 1 by c. So here I can write this as c value as e minus 1. E takes a value of 2.713 minus 1, that is equal to 0.713, which always belongs to the in interval which is equal to 1.173, which always belongs to the open interval 1 comma e. Therefore, this the question, that is the Lagrange's mean value theorem, in this way it is applicable for f of x is equal to log x. So all this we need to write it as. So before applying the mean value theorems, we all know that we have to prove that function is continuous and differentiable at the open interval. Then we have to find the value of c. Then that value should lie in the interval. Then only you can say that the mean value theorems are applicable. Now explain why the mean value theorem does not hold for f of x is equal to x to the power of 2 by 3. Now why the mean value theorem does not hold for x to the power of 2 by 3, where from in between the interval minus 1 to minus 1 to 1, the closed interval minus 1 to 1, you can see that x to the power of 2 by 3 minus 1 to 1, for all values f of x exists. So therefore it is always a continuous function, no problem. But if you go for the differentiation of f of x, then f dash of x will be equal to 2 by 3 x to the power of 2 by 3 minus 1, that is nothing but minus 1 by 3. So 2 by 3 x to the power of, that is minus 1 by 3. So it comes to the denominator, it takes the value of 2 by 3 x to the power of 1 by 3. So when x is equal to 0, this total function goes to infinity. It goes to infinity. Therefore at x is equal to 0, the function is not differentiable. So you can say that the mean value theorem does not exist for f of x is equal to x to the power of 2 by 3. Once again, if f of x is equal to x to the power of 2 by 3, it is differentiable in all the at all the points in between the closed interval minus 1 comma 1. But going to the differentiability, f dash of x is equal to 2 by 3 x to the power of 2 by 3 minus 1, that is 2 by 3 x to the power of minus 1 by 3. So minus 1 by 3, it comes to the denominator. So we'll get it as 2 by 3 into x to the power of 1 by 3. So if you substitute x is equal to 0, the function leads to infinity. So therefore, the function, it is not differentiable. We all know that at a point when the derivative of the function goes to infinity, it is not differentiable. Therefore, the mean value theorems does not hold. Going to the ninth one, identify the region of which 1 minus 4x minus x square is increasing and during using mean value theorems. F of x is equal to 1 minus 4x minus x square. So if you equate that with 0, and first we need to find out the values here. Equate that with 0, find out the values, and total the number line can be divided into 3 parts based on, suppose if you have some alpha and beta are the roots, so alpha and beta, take an interval that is from that interval minus infinity to minus infinity to alpha, and alpha to beta, and beta to plus infinity. We have to divide into 3 parts. At each and every part, take one point and try to substitute here. If it is greater than 0, then you can say that it is increasing. If it is less than 0, then you can say that it is decreasing function. So like that we can say. And also not only like this, by looking at the derivative also, if the slope of f dash of x is greater than 90 degrees, then you can say that the function is decreasing function. If it is less than 90 degrees, then the function is increasing function. Even like that also we can explain the increasing and decreasing of the function in the intervals, in the given intervals. Next, 10th question, f dash of x is equal to 0 throughout the interval a comma b. Using mean value theorem, so show that f of x is equal to 0. If f dash of x is equal to 0 throughout the interval a comma b, it is obvious that the function should be a constant. If the function is constant, then only the derivative of the constant value become 0. So therefore, if f dash of x is equal to 0, then f of x is always equal to constant. Going to the next question, 11th question, x values are given. X is equal to u square by v and y is equal to v square by u. This is y is equal to u square by v square by u. Find the value of dou of u comma v by dou of x comma y. How to find? This is a Jacobian value of u comma v with respect to x comma y. How to find out the Jacobian value? Ux, that is the matrix determinant of ux, uy and vx, vy. Vx, Vy. So what is Ux? Ux is nothing but the partial derivative of u with respect to x, and Uy is nothing but the partial derivative of u with y, and Vx is nothing but the partial derivative of v with x, and Vy is nothing but the partial derivative of v with y. Now we have to show that it is equal to, this value we need to find it out. But here he has given that x is equal to u square by v. Here given x and y in terms of u comma v. So how to find out? First you find out the other Jacobian value, that is dou of x comma y divided by dou of u comma v. We need to first find it out. Then we can able to get the value of dou of u comma v by dou of x comma y. How? By using the formula that suppose if this is j, if dou of x comma y by dou of u comma v, that is a partial derivative of x comma y with respect to u comma v is j, then j dash is given by dou of u comma v by dou of x comma y. And you all know that j into j dash is equal to 1. We can make use of this property because instead of finding out the explicit nature of u and v with respect to x and y, it is better to first find out the j dash value and then reverse the value. We are going to get the dou of u comma v by dou of x comma y. So that is how you can do the 11th question. Now going to the 12th question. What are the stationary points of the function? X square plus y square plus xy plus x minus 4y plus 5 is equal to 0. How to find out the stationary points? By equating the first order derivatives to 0. By equating the first order derivatives to 0, we can find out the stationary points. So what are the first order derivatives? Dou f by dou x. Dou f by dou x is nothing but 2x plus y plus 1 is equal to 0. This is the first equation. Second equation, 2y plus x minus 4 is equal to 0. This is a second equation. So solving these two equations for x and y, we are going to get the stationary value. So that is how we can find out the stationary value. Stationary points or stationary values or critical values are one and the same. They are obtained by equating the first order derivatives to 0. Next is, if x is equal to u into 1 minus v and y is equal to uv, find the value of j dash. Now again, here x and y are given in terms of u and v. X and y are given in terms of u and v. First we'll follow the same method as we have done for the 11th question. How we did? First we'll find out x comma y with respect to dou of u comma v, and we represent it as j, and since j into j dash is equal to 1, reverse the answer, whatever you have got it, we'll get the j dash. J dash is equal to 1 by j. So find out the first order partial derivatives of x with respect to u, v and y with respect to u and v, then take the matrix determinant to get the j dash value. Now next, 13th question. 13th question is similar to that of the 11th question, but here asks the triple variable function. That means we need to find out the Jacobian value of 3 variables with respect to another 3 variables. So how to find out the Jacobian value of these three variables here? Again we can it is nothing but a dou of x y z, dou of x comma y comma z divided by dou of u comma v comma w. So what is that? Is equal to xv xu xw yu yv and yw. And the last zu, that means the partial derivative of z with respect to u, zv, zw. So the determinant of this should be found out. And again we can make use of the same property, that is j into j dash, because the x implicit value here asked in terms of u, v, w, in terms of x, y, z he asked. But the function he has given as dou of x comma y with respect to u, v, w. So first we need to find it out u, v, w with respect to x comma y, then reverse it by using this property j into j dash is equal to 1. So that's how we can do this problem. Next one, if x is equal to 1 plus v, if x is equal to 1 plus v and y is equal to, x is equal to u into 1 plus v and y is equal to v into 1 plus u, then find the value of x comma y. This is a direct question. It is just nothing but the partial derivative of x with respect to u, x with respect to v, y with respect to u and y with respect to v. So just we need to find out the four first order partial derivatives and put it in the matrix determinant. So it's very easy question. Next one, 16th question. If x is equal to r cos theta, y is equal to r sin theta, find the value of j. Here what is the j value represent? It represent derivative of x comma y, the partial derivative of x comma y with respect to r comma theta. So how to give this in terms of matrix forms? It can be given as xr x theta, xr x theta, yr y theta. It can be given in this form. So again we need to find out the first order partial derivatives of x with respect to r and theta. So xr is nothing but cos theta, and x theta is nothing but minus r sin theta. Similarly, yr is nothing but sin theta and y theta is nothing but r cos theta. So if you substitute here, we'll get r square cos square theta plus sin square theta, which is equal to r square into 1, which is equal to r. So this which is equal to r square. So we'll get r square here. Next, that is r into the first order partial derivative of r with x with respect to r, that is equal to cos theta, and this with respect to theta, that is minus r sin theta. Similarly, we will get here sin theta and minus r cos theta. So we will get r, not r square, we will get r. So here answer is equal to r. because r into cos square theta plus sin square theta, and which is equal to r into 1, which is equal to r into 1, which is equal to r. Next one, if x is equal to log of x into tan inverse y, show that f of xy is equal to 0. What do you mean by f of xy? Partial differentiation of f with respect to x and y. That means first we need to do the dou f by dou x value, and to that we have to differentiate the with partial with respect to y. If you differentiate with respect to x, we are going to get it as 1 by x tan inverse x, because log x, differentiation of log x is 1 by x. 1 by x tan inverse x we are going to get, and internal differentiation is again tan inverse y. 1 by x into tan inverse y into tan inverse y. Both will get cancelled. We will have only 1 by x. So dou f by dou x is nothing but 1 by x. No y terms will be there. So if you differentiate with respect to y, obviously we are going to get it as 0. So simple 2 lines answer. Next one, if f of x comma y comma z is equal to 0, then show that dou x by dou y by dou z by dou x is equal to -1. Here we should make use of the chain rule. Next one, write the properties of maxima and minima under the various conditions. What are the properties of the maxima and minima? If L is if suppose f is a function whose maxima and minima we need to find it out. F is a function whose maxima and minima, f is a triple variable function, f of x comma y comma z, whose maxima and minima we need to find it out. Then how to find out the partial difference, how to find out the maxima and minima? First we need to find out the L value, that is f of double x value, and next we need to find it out the f double y value. Next that is we are representing by L, and next we need to find it out the m value, that is f of x comma y. Now we have to check that ln minus m square value. If it is greater than 0 and L is greater than 0, then the function will have minimum value, and ln minus m square is greater than 0 but L is less than 0, then the function will have maximum value, and ln minus m square is less than 0, then we will get a saddle point. If ln minus m square is equal to 0, then the further discussion has to be, the advanced method has to be done to find out the maxima and minima. Next, going to the 20th question, if z is equal to cos of x by y plus sin of x by y, then show that x into dou z by dou x plus y into dou z by dou x is equal to 0. Simple question. We need to find it out the dou z by dou x. If z is equal to cos of x by y, what is dou z by dou x? That is nothing but minus sin of x by y into internal differentiation of x by y, that is 1 by y. Similarly, dou z by dou x is nothing but cos of x by y into internal differentiation of x by y with respect to x, that is nothing but 1 by y. So substitute everything, x gets cancelled, so we are going to get it as 0, right? Once again, x into minus sin of x by y into internal differentiation, that is 1 by y. Similarly, plus the other one, we need to find it out here also. So all these values we need to substitute here to get the 0. That is, we need to find out only two first order partial derivatives. So easily you can substitute this. So when you attempt this question, first try to find out the partial derivative of z with respect to x. Put it aside. Next, you find out the z with respect to one is this is y, I think. Y, then we have to substitute these two in LHS part, equate that, cancel the like and unlike terms, so we are going to get it as 0. So this is how we can discuss the question bank questions of part A. Going to the part B, show that the Rolle's mean value theorem is applicable for f of x is equal to e to the power of minus x sin x in the interval 0, pi. So whenever this type of functions appears, first we have to show that in order to apply the mean value theorems, we have to show that the function is always continuous in the given interval. That is, the function e to the power of minus x sin x should be continuous in 0 to pi. The first point. The second point, we have to show that f dash of x exists in all the values in the open interval 0 to pi. Then you can say that f of x is differentiable in the open interval. And as it is a mean value theorem, even we have to show that f of 0 is equal to f of pi. That means f of the functional value of f of x is same at 0 and pi. So if these three conditions are satisfied, after showing these three conditions, we have to pick up a value c in the open interval a comma b such that f dash of c is equal to 0. Try to find out the c value, and that c value should come out in between the interval from 0 to pi. So that is how we can show the Rolle's mean value theorem for this function. Second question, f of x is equal to log of x square plus ab by x into a plus b. Now here also, before going to the question, it is better to split up this log of a by b as log of a minus log of b, that is log of x square plus ab minus log of x minus log of a plus b. So if you write in this manner, then the derivation becomes very easy. Then after that, we have to show that the function is continuous in the closed interval a comma b and differentiable in the open interval a comma b, and then show that f of a is equal to f of b, the third condition of the Rolle's mean value theorem. Then we can find out the value of c, and we have to, and which is I hope the c value is nothing but under root of ap, which is a geometrical mean between a and b. So geometrical mean means it always lies in between a and b. Arithmetic mean and geometric mean, the mean values of an interval always lies inside the interval. So you can say that the c lies in between a and b, that is open interval a and b. So that is how you can show that the Rolle's mean value theorem is applicable here. Now going to the third question, show that the Lagrange's mean value theorem is applicable for f of x is equal to x cube minus x square minus 5x plus 3 in interval 0, 4. So what is the first thing we need to show? It is a continuous. As this is an algebra polynomial equation of degree 3, the polynomial equations of degree 3 are always continuous. So there is no need to show that it is discontinuous. Okay, so because the given interval is 0 to 4, at none of the value between 0 and 4, and along with the 0 and 4, the value gives a finite value. So you can say that the polynomial equations are always continuous. That statement is enough. Now going to the second part, point, that is differentiability. F is differentiable in the interval f in the open interval a comma b. For that we need to find out f dash of c. F dash of c is nothing but 3x square minus 2x minus 5, which is again a polynomial equation of degree 2, and between 0 and 4 it never gives any infinite value. So any undetermined values are infinite values. So you can say that f of x is differentiable in the open interval a 0, 4. If these two conditions are satisfied, third one we need to show that 0, that is f of 0 is not equal to f of 4. Then we have to apply the Lagrange's mean value theorem, find out the value of c, and show that c lies in between 0 and 4. So that is how we can show the third question. Now going to the fourth question, if a is less than b, show that b minus a by 1 plus b square is less than tan inverse b minus tan inverse a, which is less than b minus a divided by 1 plus a square by using the Lagrange's mean value theorem. So now we have to assume the function. Now for this we assume the function f of x is equal to tan inverse x. We assume the function f of x is equal to tan inverse x. What is f dash of x? F dash of x is equal to 1 by 1 plus x square. But the derivative of tan inverse x is 1 by 1 plus x square. Now we are using the Lagrange's mean value theorem. That means we are assuming that this function is accepting the mean value conditions of the mean value theorem. So therefore it is applicable for mean value. It is capable of applying the mean value theorem. So according to the mean value theorems, there exists a c. If these conditions satisfies, there exists a c such that f dash of c is equal to f of b minus, that is Lagrange's mean value theorem, minus f of a divided by b minus a. So this is the f dash of c. So here 1 by 1 plus c square, 1 by 1 plus c square. In place of x we are putting c square. F of b, that is tan inverse b minus tan inverse a divided by b minus a. So you keep putting it at side. Since we are assuming c belongs to the open interval a comma b, such that a is less than c, less than c, less than b, and a square is less than c square is less than b square, and 1 plus a square is less than 1 plus b square is less than 1 plus b square. And this you reverse it, that is 1 by 1 plus a square is greater than 1 by 1 plus c square, which is greater than 1 by 1 plus b square. Now you substitute this value here. We have to substitute this value here. Then you are going to get the inequality, that is can be proved very easily. Next, after getting the inequality, assume the values of b and a, that is x, or according to the condition, that is the deduction that we need to do, like we have to assume the b and a value, say the 0 or pi by 4 or pi by 2, any angle you can take it and substitute, or 1 0, like that we can substitute, and you can get this value. And most probably for the first one, b has to be taken as 4 by 3, and a has to be taken as 0, and the second one, b has to be taken as 2 and a has to be taken as 0. So if you apply these conditions in the inequality, you are going to get the two deductions also. Going to the fifth question. Find the value of c in the interval 3, 7, for which f of x is equal to e power x and g of x is equal to e power minus x, using Cauchy's mean value theorem. Now we have given two functions. So what is the first thing we need to show? That f and g are continuous functions in the interval 3, 7. Next, it is the differentiable in the interval 3, 7. And next, if the g dash of x is not equal to 0 in between any points between 3 and 7. So after three conditions are satisfied, we have to apply the Cauchy's mean value theorem that says that there exists a c belongs to open interval such that f dash of c divided by g dash of c is equal to f of b minus f of a divided by g of b minus g of a. So that is how we can, and we have to find out the c value and show that c value lies between 3 and 7. And sixth one is same, only there is a difference here. F of x instead of e power x he has asked as a root x, and g of x he asked as 1 by root x. So there is a little bit change in the f of x and g of x. Two functions are given, same as that of the fifth question. Okay, that means we need to we need to show that f and g are continuous. F dash and g dash values exist, and we have to show that g dash of x is, we have to assume that g dash of x is not equal to 0 and apply the Cauchy's mean value theorem. Next, seventh question. Select Cauchy's mean value theorem for f of x is equal to x square and f g of x is equal to x cube. Seventh question is same as that of the fifth question. Instead of e power x, he asked as x square and x cube, which are always continuous and differentiable functions in interval 1, 2, because it doesn't give any rational functions. So therefore, it is always continuous. So easily you can prove it. Next, eighth question. Choose the Rolle's mean value theorem for c for the function a minus b whole to the power of m into x minus b whole to the power of n. Now, f and g are the f is a function which is a polynomial function of degree m plus 1, which is always continuous. So first part is over. Now second part, for f is always differentiable in the open interval a comma b. So, and also f of b is not equal, f of b is equal to f of a. That means if you put x is equal to a and x is equal to b, the value comes out to be 0. So f of the 2 points a and b, the functional value is same. So the third condition of Rolle's mean value theorem is also satisfied. Then we need to take a point c belongs to a comma b such that f dash of c is equal to 0. That means here we will get c as a plus b by 2. What is a plus b by 2? Which is nothing but the arithmetic mean. Arithmetic mean between a by 2. I hope m and n are also there. So mb plus na divided by m plus n. This is a value I hope we are going to get for c, and which is nothing but the internal division point. It is nothing but the internal division point, which always lies inside the interval. So internal division point. So therefore c belongs to the open interval a comma b. So this is the answer that we are going to get for the 8th question. Going to the 9th question. Select the mean value theorem. This is just similar to that of the Fourth question, that inequality we have done by using the Lagrange's mean value theorem. Here, what is the function that we need to assume? F of x is equal to log x. F of x is equal to log x, and we have to assume that f is continuous, differentiable, and obeys the conditions of mean value theorem. Then we can apply the mean value theorem just as that of the fourth question that we have already discussed earlier. Now, same as fourth question. Now, going to the 10th one. Find all the values of C between A and B which satisfies the Lagrange's mean value theorem for the following functions. F of x is equal to x minus 1 into x minus 2 into x minus 3 in the interval 0, 1. And this question is very much similar to that of the Lagrange's mean value theorem. That is third question, same as that of the third question. So it's a polynomial equation of degree 3 which is always differentiable, and the derivative also never goes to infinity or indeterminate term. So it is always differentiable function, and we need to find out the C value and show that this C value lies between 0 and 4. Now going to the 11th question, Jacobian values. X value is given u into 1 minus v, y is u into v. We have to show that j into j dash is equal to 0. So here first the explicit nature of x and y with respect to u and v are given. So it is very easy to find out the dou of x comma y with respect to dou of u comma v. But if you go for the reverse one, we need to find out the explicit nature of u and v with respect to x and y. That how to find out here? X is equal to u plus uv. Okay, and y is equal to uv. Here substitute uv is equal to y. So u is equal to x minus y. So you got u in terms of x and y, and which becomes very easy to calculate the first order partial derivative. And v is nothing but y by u. But what is u here? U is nothing but x minus y. Okay, x minus y. So y by x minus y is the u value. So here also you can easily get the v in terms of x and y. So after getting this, you can find out the dou of u comma v by dou of x comma y, and multiply that with j and j dash both. We should get it as 1. So in either of the way, in the both the ways we have to do the problem. Next, going to the second bit, x plus y square. X plus y square is equal to u, and y plus z square is equal to v. Z plus x square is equal to w. He asked you to find out the x, y, z dou of with respect to u, v, w. So you can do just dou of u, v, w with respect to dou of x, y, w, and then reverse the value by using the property that j into j dash is equal to 1. You can make use of the property j into j dash is equal to 1. Therefore, j dash is equal to 1 by j. So whatever answer we will get, just we'll write the reciprocal of that. Okay. Next, going to the 12th question. 12th question is u is equal to x square minus y square and v is equal to 2xy, where x is equal to r cos theta and y is equal to r sin theta. Now, first we have to find out uv with respect to x and y. Next, x and y with respect to r and theta. Multiply these two to get dou of u comma v with respect to r comma theta, and that should comes out to be 4r square. Otherwise, you can directly substitute wherever x is there r cos theta and y is there r sin theta. Then you can find out the relationship between u and v with respect to r comma theta directly, and you can find out the first order partial derivatives of u and v with respect to r comma theta, and substitute that to in the matrix determinant in the j value to get 4r cube. In this model also you can do it. 13th question, if x is equal to e to the power of r secant theta and y is equal to e to the power of r tan theta, show that. Here also x with respect to r comma theta, we need to find it out first. Next, r comma theta with respect to x comma y. That means you have to find out the reverse explicit nature also. Otherwise, you can make use of this property and find out directly and multiply those two to get the one value. So this here, it becomes a lengthy problem if you find out the explicit nature of r comma theta with respect to x comma y. Next is 14th question. If ux is equal to y, ux is equal to yz, and vy is equal to zx, and wz is equal to xy. Find the Jacobian value. Bring this u, v, w on the left hand side. First, you try to bring the explicit nature of x, y, z with respect to u, v, w. If not possible, you can find out u is equal to yz by x, and y is equal to zx by v, and z is equal to x by y. W is equal to xy by z. Then find out the value. Then reverse the write the reciprocal by using this property. J into j dash is equal to 1. So that is how we can do this. And 15th question, x is equal to u square by v and y is equal to v square by u. Solve the Jacobian of the function u comma v with respect to. So what he asked you to show, find dou of u comma v with respect to dou of u comma v with respect to dou of x comma y. He asked you to find it out. So as the explicit nature is there in terms of x comma y with respect to u and v, first you have to find out x comma y with respect to dou of u comma v, then do the reverse order to find out the value. So in this way you can. So almost all in all the questions directly he didn't ask, indirectly he asked. So first we need to find out j and inverse that to get the j dash. Now make use of the Lagrange's multiplier method to find the minimum value of the function x square plus y square subject to the condition ax plus by is equal to 0. So we have to assume that this is a function f. Frame the Lagrange's equation, that is f is equal to f of a comma b, x comma y comma z, x comma y comma z, okay, Lagrange's auxiliary equation into lambda into phi of the condition, this condition, and that is, this function is nothing but this is nothing but f of x comma y, and this is nothing but the condition phi. So you have to frame this Lagrange's auxiliary equation. Next, differentiate partially with respect to x, y and z and equate it to 0 to get the stationary points. So like that you can say that at those stationary points the function might be having the extreme values. Now going to the next questions, that is summarize the conclusion of Rolle's function for the Rolle's theorem for the function f of x is equal to x cube minus 6x square plus 11x minus 6. Again, this is similar to that of the previous one of the questions we have done. It's a polynomial equation of degree 3 which is always continuous. So easily you can show that it is continuous function in the interval 1 comma 3 and differentiable in the interval 1 comma 3 because the derivative is a second degree polynomial equation. Even that also it doesn't give any infinite terms or indeterminate terms between 1 and 3. So it is differentiable. So we should find out the c value, and that c value should lie between 1 and c. So we will get a quadratic equation in terms of c. We will get two values. At least one value we have to show that it lies between 1 and 3. Next, summarize the conclusion of the Rolle's mean value. That just we have done already this log of x square plus ab by a plus b into x. I've said to write this in the form of log of x square plus ab minus log of x minus log of a plus b. If you write this given function in this form, then the derivation becomes very easy. Otherwise, the rational function internal differentiation becomes very tough, and it becomes complicated for the student to calculate the c value and show that it lies between a and b. Next, utilize the Lagrange's mean value theorem. Here, what is f of x value that we need to assume? F of x is equal to sine inverse x. What is f dash of x here? F dash of x is equal to 1 by root of 1 minus x square. So already we have done tan inverse x, tan inverse b minus tan inverse a previously. The same model we have to assume. Next, fourth question, solve approximately fifth root of 245 by using Lagrange's mean value theorem. Here we have to assume, for fourth question we have to assume the function as a root of x, fifth root of x, that is x to the power of 1 by 5. Okay, we have to assume that this function is a continuous function. We have to choose the only that interval where this gives finite values. So choose that interval and apply the Lagrange's mean value theorem to give the and approximate value of fifth root of 245. Next is select the Cauchy's mean value theorem. F of x is equal to x cube and g of x is equal to 2 minus x in the interval 0 and 9. Find the value of c. Here two functions are given here. Two functions are given in the interval 0 comma 9. So what we need to do, we need to find out. First we have to show that f and g are continuous. F and g are continuous as usually. Then f and g are differentiable. Continuity in the closed interval and differentiability in the open interval. Right? Then we are applying the Cauchy's mean value theorem. We have to show that g dash of x is not equal to 0 for all the values between 0, that is open closed interval 0 and 9. So we have to assume that c belongs to a, not we have to assume, we have to find the value of c and we have to show that c belongs to 0 and we have to get the value of c in between 0 and 9. So that is how you can find it out. And sixth one is similar to that of the above cases. That is one of the case we have already done this Jacobian value. That is the 11th question. Already we have done this 11th question, same as the, but only thing that after getting the Jacobian value, substitute the values. X is equal to 1, y is equal to minus 1 and z is equal to 0. Then we will get the numerical answer. After finding out the dou of u, v, w with respect to dou of x comma y. What is this y is equal to? That is a matrix determinant of ux, uy, uw, vx, Vy, Vw and Wx, Wy, Wy and Wz. After finding this, you have to substitute x is equal to 1, y is equal to minus 1 and z is equal to 0. So we will get the numerical answer. Next, identify whether the following functions are functionally dependent or not. U is given as x plus y by 1 minus xy and v is equal to tan inverse x plus tan inverse y. So functionally dependent. So we have to show that the j value is equal to 0. That is j value. What is the j value? Dou of u comma v by dou of x comma y should come out to be as 0. So we can show if it is 0, then there exists some functional relationship and that functional relationship you need to find it out. So this mostly I think we are going to get it as v is equal to u is equal to tan v. Like that. Now divide these three are the application problems of the several functions of several variables. We have to use the Lagrange's method of undetermined multipliers. Divide the number 24 into 3 parts such that such that the continued product of first and square of second and cube of third is maximum. So we have to assume divide 24 in 3 parts. In 3 parts we have to divide the 24 into 3 parts such that means the first part is the product of the first and square of the second and cube of the third. So this is the function that you need to assume for the 8th equation and apply the Lagrange's method of undetermined multiply. That's the best method to show to find out the maxima and minima. Next, find the 3 positive numbers whose sum is 100. That means x plus y plus z is equal to 100 and whose product is maximum. So f y z. So this is a function here. So f of x comma y comma z is nothing but f of x into y into z and x plus y plus z is equal to 100 is nothing but the phi value, because for using the Lagrange's mean value Lagrange's multipliers, we need to find out the f function f plus lambda into phi. So this is the f and this is a phi value. So the rectangular box here also, the volume we can the rectangular box open at the top to have the volume of 32 cubic feet. Find the dimensions of the box requiring least material for its construction. Find the dimensions of the box. Let us suppose that x, y, z are the length, breadth and height of the rectangular box open at the top. Then what is the volume? X into y into z. Okay, x into y into z. Next, what is that is a surface area of the box which is open at the top. That is 2xy plus 2yz plus zx. Only one, because but the top is open. So yes, we need to find it out. Yes, we need to take it as a function, and x into y into z, he has given it as a 32 cubic unit. X y z is equal to 32 cubic unit, and this we need to take it as 5. And 2xy, the surface area that we have taken, that we need to take it as a function, because this is the function to which we need to find it out the maxima and minima. So like that, again, for frame the Lagrange's auxiliary equation, capital F is equal to F plus lambda phi, and find out the dou F by dou X, dou F by dou Y, and dou F by dou Z value. Equate it to 0, we'll get the critical points where the function assumed to be having the maximum value. So this is how the question bank questions of the functions of several variables can be done. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.